You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. On today's show, Beat the Clock, our end-of-the-year expose on 2010 Tax Reform Act and the planning opportunities with Mark Teitelbaum, attorney and vice president of advanced markets with AXA Equitable Life.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I am Steve Savant, your host, and we're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And today we're talking about beating the clock, and I'm talking about we have about 4 to 5 real weeks left to make an impact using the 2010 Tax Reform Act, and there are huge opportunities. And to help us with that opportunity, our good friend, Mark Teitelbaum. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, Steve, thanks a lot.
Mark not only is an attorney, he's a CLU, CHFC, LLM. I mean, you have more initials than the alphabet. I want to welcome you to the show, and let's get into it because really what we're talking about today are end-of-the-year planning tactics. We know the strategies, but these are tactics. Walk us through a little bit about what the 210, what it is today, the patch job, and then we'll get into more about what can we do as a producer and an advisor to help our clients before the end of the year.
No, absolutely. So we do have the benefit of recording this the day after the election. What we don't know is where things will end up come January 1. Right now, we're in an environment where we're at the end of a 2-year extension of what's the so-called Bush-era tax cuts. We're experiencing some of the lowest income tax rates, capital gain rates, and estate tax rates plus high estate tax exemptions, higher than many people have seen in their lifetime. We don't know where those will go once they expire come January 1. If nothing is done in Congress, everything will revert back to a pre-2001 rate, which is significantly higher estate taxes, income taxes, lower gift tax thresholds. The one thing we do know is come January 1, 2013, there is going to be an additional tax. It's a 3.8% surcharge on what's called passive income, capital gains, dividends, interest, sale of a home for higher income taxpayers, typically incomes over $250,000, but it will vary based on someone's filing status.
So here's what we're doing. We're talking about things that are going to happen next year. We want to be able to prep what time that we have left to try to park some serious money, especially you mentioned the unified credit. Now, to me, the unified credit, if we go back to 2001, Mark, I mean, what is that, $1 million?
It's $1 million,
Yeah.
Some indexing, but it's essentially $1 million.
Well, I mean, I think a second to die would take off like a jet if we got down to $1 million, but I don't know if it's going to get that low. But right now, what do we have? About $5 million a piece?
Right now, it's $5 million plus some indexing. It's a little bit over $5 million, $5,125,000. For a taxpayer or for someone who can gift money away, I would strongly encourage them to do it. Because once that money is gifted, it's out of someone's estate. It will then grow in the hands of the child, it'll grow in the hands of a trustee, but it will be out of their estate. Not everyone can gift $5 million, but gift till it hurts. Here's an example. We have $1 million that are gifted today. Over the course of one generation, that will result in growth of $3.2 million out of the estate.
That's significant.
Exactly.
If I took I want to make sure this is clear because a lot of people are still struggling with the concept of if I had a $5 million single deposit premium, and my death benefit obviously is going to exceed that number, it's going to be quite large. I'm really moving more than $5 million then.
Absolutely. You have tremendous leverage if you go into life insurance. And whether it's a single premium, whether it's premiums paid over a period of time, this is where someone can really magnify their dollars, particularly if they're looking at doing some wealth transfer to their children or even to their grandchildren.
I took one of your docs off your PowerPoint presentation, which, by the way, is one of our big giveaways this week. I looked at that and I took a second to die, pulled off the AXA product, just kind of look at it, see what kind of leverage I can get off this. And I noticed that if I have a preferred non-smoker client, both male and female 65, I'm looking at 4.5 to 5 times the single deposit. So if I put in $5 million, I could be at $20 million. If I had that kind of leverage and I can justify it with my estate, that's a huge leverage game.
It is. It's going to vary between from person to person. It's going to vary based on their age, it's going to vary based on their health, but you could get tremendous leverage. So for someone who's looking to gift money away, pass it to another generation, this is an approach someone should be looking to do. And they have based on the time you said this is first going to air, really a 6-week window to move those gifts out of their pocket into a trust before we move into unknown territory. Now, the life insurance could follow weeks or months later, but the gifting, there's going to be a sunset on that.
Another thing you want to remember is we're broadcasting now in the middle of substandard season. So if we have healthy clients usually are wealthy clients usually spend their health. So if you're looking for underwriting for this is the time to do it, because it doesn't get any more benevolent than this when it comes to underwriting. And AXA's got one of the top underwriters in the United States. We've had her on several times, Kathy Fell. We love her, and we think you're going to get some serious play on underwriting. So even if your client has some issues, we really recommend, especially now, this is the time to submit those cases and let us look at it, not only the leverage, but the underwriting capacity of AXA and their ability to actually write really good cases in substandard land is really a huge idea.
Thanks, Steve. I'll put in a nice plug for the AXA underwriters. They're very skilled at working with high net worth, high income taxpayers. They will look at the entire person, both from a financial standpoint as well as from a medical standpoint. And we'll give you our best offer first.
I like that, because right now I want to look at every client that I have that can really use the unified credit, leverage it up in life insurance, use the underwriting protocols that are happening right now in substandard. I want to be able to make the total rate of return for my client somewhere in that 5 to 6%, even if they live all the way out to age 90, 95. Remember, we're living in the largest mortality revolution of all time. The 2008 actuaries have already pushed the numbers out farther than the 2001 CSO. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue to address the end of the year planning opportunities using the 2010 Tax Reform Act. And don't forget to enroll in IULUniversity.com for the best training, education, sales support when it comes to life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Welcome to the Brokers Alliance Auction House. I'm Jessica Lopez, and that's Steve Savant. What are you doing?
I'm practicing my auctioneer skills for our carrier bidding process for our producers' substandard cases.
Steve means that we're packaging our substandard cases for underwriters with specific carriers that are known to specialize in certain health impairments.
There are really only a handful of competitive carriers in each category, and we've identified who they are.
It's all about securing the best possible underwriting offer by packaging your substandard case with the right carriers.
So let the bidding begin. Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Mark Teitelbaum. How you doing, Mark? And today our giveaway, the biz at brokersalliance.com. It's called Beat the Clock PowerPoint presentation, by the way, for agent use only. And just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the ideas that we talk about on this show, always consult your tax advisor and your broker-dealer compliance officer. In this segment, we're going to continue our addressing year-to-end planning opportunities using the 2010 tax reform, and we're going to talk a little bit about income tax. Because really, there's going to be some changes here, and there's some leverage before the end of the year.
Absolutely. Like we spoke about in the first segment, we know we're in historically low tax rates. What we don't know is where those rates are going to go come 2013, other than there's going to be a 3.8% surcharge on passive income for high income taxpayers. Again, capital gains, dividends, sale of a home, and so forth.
I think a lot of our consumers that might be watching the show are sitting there saying, hey, you know, Mark, I thought it was 15% was my top bracket.
It was 15%. The issue that's happening, though, is come January 1, capital gain rates are going to go up to 20% unless Congress does something over the course of the next few weeks or does something retroactively in 2013. But you add on top of that a 3.8% surcharge for those passive income items like capital gains. Now you're suddenly going from 15% to almost 24%. That's 9% more subject to tax. So for these few remaining weeks, particularly now that we've had a nice run up in the market, this is the time for individuals to think about selling now, cashing out on some of their gain, and then what do they do with that gain? One approach might be to redeploy it into life insurance, where funds can grow on a tax advantage basis, plus withdrawals and loans out of life insurance policies aren't going to be subject to this 3.8% surcharge.
Well, that's a very good recommendation. So if you have gain in contracts, you're dealing with clients, maybe you're an asset allocator, one of our fee advisors, I really recommend that you look through your entire portfolio to see what sales you should make now, because if we're talking about, if it really hits that number, you're talking about 24% all in. Wow, that's a huge number. And think about this. If we hit 24 all in and the marginal tax brackets for the affluent middle class and lower stay pretty static, which is what we think is going to happen, I'm telling you, our product line, even though it's ordinary income tax on much of what we talk about on annuities, we could be a player. All of a sudden, capital gains at 24, oh my goodness, annuities become a play.
Again, capital gains at nearly 24% if Congress does nothing,
Right.
and we just don't know where they're going to go. You now, again, have a divided Congress. There will probably be some tempering effect between the two houses. We just don't know where things will go.
Yeah, nobody can predict what the House is going to do. I mean, it's a Republican. The Dems won the Senate. President Obama's in for another 4 years. I think they all want to cut some kind of deal. I think there's a mood in the country to get something done. We don't know what that is right now, but we want to be able to plan for the next 4 to 6 weeks by harvesting stocks, by taking advantage of the unified credit as high as it is. Oh my goodness. So let's just do that today. But let's talk a little bit about the future and trying to give a little peek. Now, I know, of course, we can't predict the future, and we're just pontificating here on the show. But let's talk a little bit about what does that mean? Let's say game over, end of the year, 2012, now we're in a brand new season, and I have to start thinking about things like maybe I'll have a higher capital gain. How do I defend against that?
Well, if tax rates go up, again, insurance-type products that offer the tax-advantaged wrapper, be it annuities and particularly life insurance, are a great way to accumulate some funds if you want to build some tax-advantaged savings. We promote something called Dial Your Tax Bracket that shows filling up someone's lower tax brackets with mandatory income, be it Social Security, required distributions out of qualified plans, pensions that might be paid to someone. But then as individuals need higher amounts, that's when they should be drawing from items like a Roth IRA, items from muni bonds, take their muni bond interest, or take withdrawals out of life insurance policies to help supplement some of their income needs. So someone has some control over what tax bracket they're actually paying at.
I've noticed that there are many strategies out on the web right now that are telling the very thing you just said. We're trying to combine our Social Security income and not infringe upon its taxation by using Roth IRAs in combo with that, because now I get the whole amount. Sooner or later, we're going to be forced to take RMDs, and then everything is going to be back on the table. Our 401ks will be playing there. It could influence our Social Security taxation. All these strategies are really tactical issues that we can deploy right now.
Right, but someone working with a good tax advisor could decide what they're going to take, when they're going to take it out of their distributions. We know there'll be certain required distributions, but they could look ahead, determine what income they need for a given year, and if they have a range of diversified assets that they could draw from, and that includes items like a life insurance policy with cash value, this may be an approach that they'd want to take simply because it gives them some flexibility as to where they pull funds out, where they pull their funds from.
Mark, as we're tidying up our segment here, what about the issue of the 3.8% Medicare premium tax? I mean, our Jerry's, our senior market, they're nervous about this. And everybody is just starting to blog on this, and we're seeing tweets on this. Can you just touch a little on that?
This came out of the Affordable Health Care Act, and it is aimed at passive income. Again, this is on higher income taxpayers for married couples, incomes over $250,000, lower amounts for single or individuals that are married filing separately. But it will affect a great number of individuals out there. We've known about this for a couple of years. It's only been in the past year that it's been spoken about. But the one thing that we know coming out of this election is with Obama still in office, it's unlikely that there'll be a repeal of the Affordable Health Care Act. So that is likely to stay.
Yes, in fact, actually, the repeal is not for real. So we already know that now going into it. Think about it. At the end of the year, these are all the things that you can import into your practice before 2013. Remember, you can watch our show by clicking the red on-demand video button right on our homepage at brokersalliance.com. Well, that's the Buzz on the Biz for today. You've been in the zone, the business insurance zone.
The Biz is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, a national leader in insurance products, support services, and educational workshops. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.